Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Maconi Entertainment, and welcome back to the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series. This is race number 32 of the 2025 season, coming to you tonight from Martinsville. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Justin Prince. Howie Burrows is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, JP, this feels like a bit of a flashback to FLCC a little bit earlier on this season, but a very different race lies ahead tonight. Racing under the lights with a whole world of pressure on these playoff racers as we get into the penultimate round of this season at the true bull ring of them all.
Yes, indeed, the Paperclip, always a tricky track because, well, it's not necessarily just about driving here. It's about, can you keep yourself out of trouble here? It's so easy to get involved in stack-ups, so easy to lose time because you're dealing with said traffic. It takes a lot of skill to get through. As the graphic says, the drama here tonight is going to be immaculate.
That certainly will. Howie always on point with the graphics on these shows. It is going to be a dramatic race, a hectic one, and maybe a terrifying one for these racers at certain points as well, doubly so, because the results from tonight will set your championship for who will contend for that title at Phoenix in 1 week's time. Here's how it stands at the current moment. No drivers locked in on wins. We've seen two ringers get the W's here in the round of 8 up to this point. Bryson Ixenball currently 54 above that playoff cutoff line. He's gotten multiple wins, but the playoffs have been a little bit sour for him. Enters with a very big cushion. Pretty much all he has to do is record a bodily temperature roughly in the 90s tonight, and he will make it into that championship for good benefit with the playoff points accrued a little bit earlier on this season. Adam Benefiel slotted in P2, 25 above the playoff cutoff line. Same could be said about Lucas Hoytsma, who's put in a fantastic round of 8 performance up to this point. Those two tied at 25 above the cutoff line, with Joseph McWhorter, the first driver in at the current moment, slotted in 4th, 14 above that cutoff line, which may seem like a big cushion, but here at Martinsville, that can disappear with the snap of a finger. We've got Eric Wineland, the first driver out, 14 below that cutoff line. Charles Velasquez Jr., Kirk Mills, and Hunter Truex, all essentially in must-win territory. Velasquez missed out on the first race of this round a couple of weeks ago, so he's on the back foot big time. Kirk Mills was close to victory last time at Talladega, but wasn't able to get it done as a driver blowing their motor right up in front really cost him a shot at victory, and Hunter Truex just looking to hope for a miracle here in this race at Martinsville tonight. But as we look ahead at the race, we also look back at last week where Andrew Dyson, the usual road course ringer over on the FLCC side of things, was able to get the win at Talladega. He won at it was Portland earlier on this season where he scored his first win in this series, but got the job done at Talladega. JP, you have a lot more experience covering Dyson than I do. Very quick racer.
Very quick, especially on the road courses. He has been the Shane Van Gisbergen Cup Series this season. Of course, coming into, what's the term, FLCC whack, so to speak, in terms of the win. You see Madega, he can put up some good speedway speed on the concrete tracks. But tonight, it's going to be a question mark on who's going to get the job done, because this track is going to have a lot of madness tonight, and in theory, a lot of potential pit stops and strategy flips because the potential amount of carnage we're about to see. Can we keep it clean for a while, or will the cars need to be wrapped with bubble wrap and additional bubble wrap? We'll have to find out if there's enough bubble wrap to go around.
Yeah, are these racers going to have their regular fire suits, or will they have to have bubble wrap suits here tonight? That is a real question that lies ahead in this race here tonight. But with the warm-up and everything taken care of, let's get tonight's race up and rolling by taking a look at the starting grid. Joseph McWhorter will start this race from the pole position. Adam Benefiel set to join him on the front row. Those two doing everything they need to do in qualifying. Same can be said about Bryson Ixenball lining up this race in 3rd. Joey Becca start alongside in P4. Looking right behind on row number 3, it's going to be Hunter Truex, really looking for a good result here tonight, alongside Edward Scherer Jr., a non-playoff racer, but has won thus far this season, looking to grab win number 2. Charles Velasquez Jr. going to have to hope for a miracle here tonight. He's shown a lot of speed in these playoffs, but just hasn't been here in the round of 8. He's going to be starting in 7th alongside Bryce Reiner in P8. It's going to be Matthew Boston Wheeler in 9th, with Mason Lowry rounding out our top 10.
Then you go to the next row. It's going to be Noah Woods alongside Connor Cunningham. Cunningham with the Dale Sr. look tonight. Then it's Eric Wineland looking to move ahead in the drafty car machine. This is a drafty car, though. Raymond Root alongside. Tanner Marti starts 15th tonight, 3.5 tenths off the pole. Michael Deitch will start next. Charles Eden starts 17th. Lucas Hoytsma He's in a 4th tonight in 18th. Kirk Mills will have to make up a lot of ground. He starts 19th. Cliff Mullins in 20th.
And rounding out our 25-car field, we have Tim Phillips alongside Richard Kleiman completing row number 11. Looking right behind on row number 12, we've got Jason S. Taylor, series admin and race control man, alongside Daniel Llewellyn in the 07 car, starting in 24th, with Brian Workman rounding out the 25 cars on the starting grid. Going to be a tough one here tonight. Looking at the race format, 250 laps. Stage breaks coming at the end of lap number 60 and lap 1. 24 tire sets allotted to these racers, the ones they start off with, along with 3 tire changes, the usual FLC 17X incident limit. We are paid by the hour, the drivers are not, and they may not make it to the very end. That 17X limit could go by in the blink of an eye, JP.
It can go by pretty quickly, especially if you hit a lot of cars around here or help spin some people out. The key tonight, survive, keep the car clean, maintain track position. Getting track position so helpful here. If you can maintain the speed and then pick up some spots as time goes on, put yourself in a good spot to potentially win this race, especially with how chaotic this is about to get.
Really, I think the word of the night for these racers is going to be relax. That's exactly what I saw in the back of Matthew Boston Wheeler's car, starting a little bit farther behind. He may find himself in a big situation at the start of this race. It's going to be dramatic. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be fun here at Martinsville as the green flag is out and the drivers are on their way for the penultimate round of this season. Looking like a good start there from Joseph McWhorter. Adam Benefield going to slip back in tow. Drivers running already a little bit up against that wall. That's a 42 car. Mason Lowry with a pretty rough run as they head their way up through 1 and 2. As they complete the first lap, McWhorter doing everything he needed to do to jump back to the lead early.
Yeah, exactly what you expect from the driver up at the front row from the inside. Control things from the bottom. Don't want to lose the bottom around here, quite simply. You lose the bottom of the racetrack, it's a long way from there. Joey Beck doing a decent job defending, at least from the high side. The problem is you can only defend for so long. If you can't clear, hurt yourself a little bit long term, and you just have so much speed you lose on apex, like Hixenbaugh just showed with the pass to be able to pass by the 95.
Yeah, now with the graphics up, you can see all the playoff racers marked off with a white behind their number on our ticker. You'll be able to keep tabs on everybody, notably Lucas Hoytsman down at P24 right now. He's in the pits at the moment. Disastrous start from Hoytsman. Not sure what the deal is for him, but either way, a slice at a horrific start from Hoytsman. He may have to worry about actually making it into the playoffs, even with that cushion. Maybe a tough road ahead for him here tonight. Already 5 laps in to this 250 lap long race at Still McWhorter. Over Benefield, over Bryson Hixenbaugh. Joey Beck looking to be the latest ringer, a non-playoff competitor from this round of 8, to buck the trend to be a thorn in the side for these playoff contenders.
Yeah, there is potential. I think the spoiler we've already seen a couple times already in this round with some of the cup ringers, so to speak. But it's going to also be, for a lot of people, it's going to be the question, can they make quick passes? This is a racetrack where it can take up to 10 laps in the long run to make one pass. It's so difficult to make a move around here and get the job done. Looking at some of the drivers right now, like Raymond Root, looking like everyone's staying dialed in. Lucas Hoytsman just now rolled, just exited pit road. Obviously something happened before the start tonight for the 97 to miss just like that and lose already so many laps.
Yeah, I'm looking through at the penalty reports coming out of the last round of the season at Talladega. No sort of penalties that he had to serve, so that is down to technical issues, and whatever those technical issues may be, that could very well decide exactly who's going to make it into that championship. For disastrous stuff from Hoytsman as he's come back down pit lane once again. There has got to be something seriously wrong with that number 97 car. This is a very, very tough start to his race. It was looking so good for him here in these playoffs, but things can turn on a dime, and clearly for Hoytsman it has done.
Trying to figure out with race admin what's going on with that situation, but everybody else is just kind of trying to situate themselves. Already Eric Weiland feeling a little bit of pressure. Cunningham just got the crowbar out to the inside for a moment. That's one of the major things you have to be aware in your mirrors. Is someone going to dive it on you? Is someone going to send it? In this case, Cunningham nibbling at the fender here of one of the drivers that's had experience working with major teams over the years.
I know the best way I could describe a race at Martinsville for a driver that's running in front of a competitor that they know is feeling a little bit frustrated. It's like going to Spain and doing the bull run. You look behind you, you see that bull charging at you, and it's seeing red, both literally and metaphorically. These competitors, if you look in the rearview mirror and you see a racer, and you can see the frustration begin to brew. The driving gets a little bit sloppier. The driver starts to slide it out through the turns a little bit.
Caution.
You can just see that as a yellow is out for the first time in this race. That's Brian Workman in the 35 car round, all through turns number 1 and 2.
Very tail end of the field. So pretty clearly, one of the major things you can do easily here is send it too hard into the corners. You can see with the previous corner, he's already been sending it pretty deep on the brakes. Next time out through turn 1, quite simply, went too deep. Car just went around with the brake bias, slid around and looped in front of a car. That's enough to trigger the caution flag. And our early run to start now could have an interesting trend set. By the way, Lucas Hoytsma just parked it for the night. He is done.
And that may be his playoff hopes done as well. That 25-point cushion that he had pretty much going to be wiped out immediately unless everybody running behind him in the playoffs gets struck by their own fair share of falling anvils. That's maybe going to be game, set, match for Lucas Hoytsma here in these playoffs. It's been such a good run for Hoytsma, even though he only has one win on the season, that coming very early on this championship at Talladega. He could have very well found himself in victory lane last week in a close finish at the end. It didn't turn out that way, and if he doesn't make it into the championship 4, he can really point to that race at Talladega last time out as what may have set the trend for disaster at the end of this.
Yeah, missed the start for the onset, and now, obviously, something going on for him to miss. He's one of the contenders for the Cup Series championship, so there's that at least, Ron. So maybe that plays a bit of a factor, not quite sure. But we'll say this, for this race itself, caution flag is going to eat up a lot of laps here tonight, but also it's going to be critical to get good restarts here. We might see a fair bit of tire spin with these drivers down the straightaway. I remember back in the day before they put the restart zone here at Martinsville, people would actually scream at you for starting on the straightaway because there was so much tire spin opportunity once you came off that corner to loop it. And a lot of people prefer to start by the corner exit itself. But here, you must get that restart zone dialed in, must get yourself launched down the straightaway, and those people behind you going to have a hard time in traffic to start in the middle of 3 and 4.
And that's a fantastic point that you bring up there as well, JP. I mean, with the fact that we're running at the night, the fact that we're getting to the end of October in sim and in real life, these racers on these restarts, it's got to feel like a dog running on a freshly polished wood floor. Let's see who can maximize the run as we're back to green flag racing here. First restart of the night at McWhorter gets off to an absolute flyer. Benefield going to slip back into side-by-side racing going on throughout a vast majority of the field as they exit their way onto the backstretch.
Like everyone's getting into a good rhythm here already for the onset. No major spins, no major contacts here. So far, everyone's been playing pretty nice around here. Still, Joey Beck has done a good job for the outside. He's off these launches. Hearing a lot of contacts pop up. Here in Boston, Wheeler just had some issues in the pack. Eric Wineland lighting it up on the radio.
And Wineland, playoff racer, looking to have a good night here tonight. May have some tempers flaring behind the wheel of that number 87 car as we look to see side-by-side racing involving Bryce Nixon, involving Bryce Reiner side-by-side off of 2, down the backstretch and into 3 and 4 they're going to go. Look right behind Hunter Truex. He's another racer looking to have a good night. Winless up to this point in the season, but the back for cash a little bit earlier on in this championship was able to get some very good results. Got some very nice paint nights as a result of that as well. Truex, though, yet to visit victory lane. Of all the nights to visit it, I feel like tonight would be it as he goes for the dive on the 5, off into 3 and 4, and look who's right behind him. It's Charles Velasquez Jr. Velasquez has had an almighty run right at the end of the season, won the regular season finale at Gateway, was able to get a win in the first round of the playoffs. As much as it hasn't been smooth sailing here in the second round, he's still got a very fast race car.
That Team Cox machine just taking its time, waiting for the hole to open up because these two in front of them are racing the nicest right now amongst them. The 5, couple cuts across the 71 before that clear in the first place. So far, people getting some of the elbows out just to try and maintain track position. Oh, something else going on. Scherer Jr. just come in. Edward Scherer Jr. not sure what's going on with the 10 car now.
Yeah, not sure what the deal is for that driver. He's put in some very impressive results ever since he joined the series in the middle of the summer. Was able to get a win a little bit earlier on in this championship. That coming at the Chicago Street Race. Very different racetrack. This still a bit of a bull ring where things can get a little bit physical, but he has dragged himself in one way, shape, or form down into pit lane. So we'll have to keep updates on all of that. As hearing as well, was that Howie on the production truck about Lucas Hoytsma? Ah, gotcha.
Weather conditions, it appears, might be the issue here for Lucas Hoytsma. So he loves the track, can't do the full race tonight. Less than ideal conditions. Wanted to see if he'd be able to at least get the 25-point buffer. But the stage points were on. I don't know if that buffer holds up here.
Yeah, I mean, 25 points as a barrier entering the final race of the round of playoffs here at Martinsville. That is about as sturdy as a buffer as trying to put up a small little piece of construction paper to stop a flood. That is not going to work out at all. So we'll have to see if Hoytsma can hold on to at least one of the spots inside the playoffs. I think the main goal that he has, and one thing that could help him out, is the fact that every racer that was looking on the outside into the playoffs hasn't really had a good run in these playoffs. They're all pretty much sitting at must-win situations. I mean, look, Velasquez down 33 points, Mills down 37, Hunter Truex down 47 as well. Those three really, they're in must-win territory. So I think Hoytsma is just betting on the fact that some of the racers outside the playoffs are pretty much must-win territory. That's a bit of a gamble, though. Trying to gamble like that, I can't necessarily say that's advisable.
Yeah, Scherer Jr. just came out of pit road, so confusion galore. Or someone to pit during the middle of the run just rolled on through pit lane, it looked like, actually, based on the stints. So some interesting moments here so far, but we'll say Adam Benefiel, who looks to disrupt things, one of the drivers from the FLCC's Cup side of operations, keeping up so far second with the rest of the Choo Choo Train. Just tries to maintain reach. The top 7 connected by 2.5 seconds.
So it's a little bit spread out because, I mean, 2.5 seconds between the top 7. It would seem minuscule at an intermediate, but here at Martinsville, that is a vast yawning chasm between these racers. So a lot of racing action left to go, though. We got to remind ourselves of just how long these races at Martinsville can get. 250 laps, the longest amount of laps that we've had from any race thus far this season, for that matter. So it's a long night. These racers cannot get flustered about drama in the early stages. We're still, I mean, just a tick over halfway through this first stage. So even if you're down, you're most certainly not out of it.
No. And now, for the field itself, it's just trying to see where things shake up, but the caution flag is going to wave. Whoa, it's another spin. It's the 10. I believe he got into Richard Kleinman.
Saw that 58 car rather slow there. Also saw the 88 machine of Michael Deach involved potentially. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, already a little bit crossed up heading down to the turn.
Yeah, not sure what happened in the braking zone for Edward there. He just went on. He was trying to at least try and go a little bit deeper, I think. Just bounced off the bumper. That was enough to spin him around in that situation. And obviously, with the caution trigger picked up, stopped the racetrack, have to get yellow flag pulled. I think quite simply, he's trying to gain some ground after going down pit road before. Wasn't expecting as there was a break. He was trying to stab on the brake to slow it up.
Yeah, I think Scherer, as soon as he saw that rate of closing, he just decided to just slam on the brakes. Bit of a panic there, I am sure. Certainly wasn't intentional by any means. Hey, if you're gonna pull off a bump and run at Martinsville, there are many other ways to do it other than that. So certainly unintentional for the driver. That number 10 car, a pretty rough start to the night for him. But we are under yellow for the second time here this evening at Martinsville. I want to once again remind you all that the end of the first stage will be coming at lap number 60. So a lot of racing action left to go here from stage number 1. A lot of racing action left to go here tonight in the penultimate race of this season. We got those playoff drivers, none of them already guaranteed in. I think the closest we have to a driver already into the championship 4 would be Bryson Nixonball. I mean, he's had an absolutely fantastic season, so those playoff points most certainly helping him out. Had a massive gap to the playoff cutoff line heading into this race. Brian Workman coming into the pits.
Yeah, it was towards the back of the field anyway. May as well come down, try and top off a little bit more. See if there's any adjustments that can be made. Go off and away. I mean, you're at the back of the field. There's not much you can do. You're a lap down. You're the only car on your specific lap right now. All you can do is just keep topping off and hope for the lucky dog on the next caution flag or so when we get back going here pretty soon.
So waiting for the lights to turn out on that pace car, then we can talk about another restart. To kind of expand on the point that you raised a little bit earlier on during the first caution, JP, and something that will be a pretty big worry for these competitors all throughout tonight. You brought up the brought up the restarts and how difficult they will be for those racers all throughout the night. Track temperature is only at about 77 Fahrenheit, so it's not exactly ice cold, but it's not necessarily hot either. So these racers may have a bit of a test on their hands when it comes to these restarts. As let's see how the second one goes. First one was rather smooth. The initial start was smooth as well. Here we go, though, with worn out tires. Let's see as we're back up to racing here at Martinsville. And once again, the 73 of Justin McCorder gets off to a flower, but this time Joey Beck going to follow in suit.
Yes, that Carson Hosmar superfan able to move up the second spot. Nicely done this time. Able to finally get to the inside line at least. 12 things from there, and now Hixenbaugh is feeling the pain of being up on the top side on a restart. It's going to be difficult to find a hole here. You're going to have to force it in. And that's the thing. You have to be able to get yourself down to the bottom if you want to get yourself at least some forward progress for later on.
Yeah, that's the thing about the choose here, and it's something that is brought up a heck of a lot in real life in terms of talking about the choose. And so often in terms of why the choose is actually in effect. At a track like Martinsville, that can have a hell of an impact because you've got to worry about being on that inside as soon as you possibly can, have that tight line through there, and make sure that you don't get completely hung out to dry. So looks like everybody has done that without a couple of exceptions. A little bit farther in the back, side-by-side racing with Noah Woods. He's currently running in that battle for the final 2 spots inside the top 10 with himself and Connery Cunningham in that very nice-looking Dale tribute scheme. We also look at the 2 playoff racers right behind, looking to have a solid impression. And the last of the playoff racers currently out there on the racetrack is Eric Wineland in P11, and Kirk Mills, our Marconi Entertainment colleague, slotted right behind in 12th.
You're not bad so far from Kirk so far, able to pick up spots. Noticing he's trying a different line compared to most of the field, though. See Wineland, for example, trying to keep more so lower on the entries. Mills is trying to really arc it, trying get it cut down by apex off, and then get the extra launch that way. So there's just that little bit of an approach difference from some of the people in the field compared to others towards the front that are keeping it a lot more flatlined, closer to the curbing to make sure no one leaps next to them.
Yeah, always be on the defense. This is one of those racetracks where you always have to be defensive. Make sure that you have one eye on the rear view mirrors more often than not, because if you lose track of the cars behind you, that's usually when they're going to smell blood on the water and try and go for a dive, go for the move. Speaking of going for a dive and go for a move, it's a 71 of Hunter Troll and the 83 of Adam Benefield side by side. This is a battle for third as it stands at the current moment. So close to making contact as they had their way all through 3 and 4 and look right behind Bryson Xfinity. Maybe got to smell blood on the water and potentially try and pick off a move here sooner rather than later. There's still a little bit of overlap between those 2 cars. They finally single file out as they had their way on the backstretch, but in all that, they did lose out a little bit of time to Joey Beck a little bit farther up the road.
Now, Beck, mind you, does have damage from Benefield hitting the left rear of him in the middle of the corner at one point. So these drivers getting a little bit argy-bargy. There was apologies over the radio. That damage isn't really hurting Joey right now, it seems. He's still running well in the corner. Just going to cause potential issues on the aerodynamics later on. The difference right now, though, is going to be, can he hold off Benefield, who's providing a ton of pressure on that center roll? He's nearly hitting the left rear again.
Ooh, as you can see, hitting the wall coming out of it is Adam Benefield. He is really wheeling that race car. Benefield's a driver that we both know is one that will always put everything on the line and try and go for the moves. He wants a victory. He wants to lock himself into that championship four, even though it'd be a walk-off clinch, and even though he's still well above that cutoff line and when it comes to points, Benefield, we know him to be an aggressive racer. He's going to go for the moves and maybe beat the rear bumper off the back of that number 95 car that I do want to mention as well. Joey Beck was actually suspended from the last round of the championship at Talladega because of some past incidents. Well, he's back here on the racetrack, running in second. Really good turnaround for the number 95 car. Nice to see him out here on the racetrack and running in a very good spot, sandwiched between two of the best racers that we've had thus far this season.
Yeah, Joey, from what I know is, and what I've heard, is very fast. Can get very aggressive, though. It's also one of the youngest people on the race team with the Precision Speed Solutions camp. So Joey is one of those that if you can harness his speed, he's got potential in the next 10 years or so to be up there in the higher echelons of NASCAR competition. He could be up there with a lot of those drivers that we see, like the Tinsleys that from a couple years ago, or Parker White, or any of those names. As long as you're able to get him to focus, be able to help him develop as a driver. A little bit of bobbles right now. He's having a hard time with the car getting a little bit loose corner exit right now, but Benefield just cannot seem to get the exit speed down to get a chance to leapfrog as Mills makes a pass on Wineland.
Yeah, Kirk Mills and Eric Weiland, two drivers involved in the playoffs, two drivers in must-win situations, so they're duking it out for spots, getting a little bit physical as they head their way off through turns number 3 and 4. Kirk looking to have a good night here. Wineland looking to do the same. Eric Wineland had a dream start to these playoffs. Was able to grab the win in the playoff opener at Bristol all the way back on September the 12th. And after that, he didn't really have too many results of note in the round of 12. I believe he actually missed out on one of those races afterwards, which he didn't have to worry about too much considering he had already locked himself into the round of 8. But Wineland, he's shown some pace throughout this season, but round of 8, we just haven't really seen too much of a spark. Some bad luck for sure, but other times just not really able to capitalize on these moments. Looking to have a good night here, but looks like he's the slowest of those playoff racers.
Yeah, not been the best run so far, absolutely, with the traffic, as Benefield does get inside. Just as said, take 10 laps, get the curving a little bit, trying to get that side-by-side move put down here. Oh, and don't loop it. Benefield just about slid it. He sent it so deep in the brakes. Slid around onto Apex, but still able to get the small edge. It takes a lot of car control with this machine, with this chassis, to be able to hold on. It's a driver-intensive car, and that's why people love to race it, and in this case, Benefield is a driver.
Yeah, Benefield muscling past Joey Beck as the rotors glow. He jumps into that second spot. Speaking of 2, we have 2 laps left to go in this stage. McWhorter leads by 9/10 of a second. Now with 2 to go here in this first stage. He is going to try and cap off what has been a dream start for him here in the final race of the round of 8, as we still keep our eyes on Joey Beck. Maybe feeling some pressure from Hunter Truex right behind, who's feeling some pressure from Bryce Reiner, who's feeling some pressure from Bryson Ixabal. A converging of all of these racers as we get to the end of the stage. The white flag and the air for McWhorter in this first stage. He's going to try and capitalize and get the most amount of points that he can. The first driver in did not have a big cushion. He's going to have a quite big one in a couple of moments time, getting all the points that he can. He will win stage number 1. Adam Benefield going to be right behind this. Battle for third, though. All the spots in the top 5 going to be close at the end, but no swapperoos. Benefield coming right behind him, P2. Joey Beck holds on to third. great result from two non-playoff racers in the form of Beck and Reiner to finish up towards the front. Waiting for the yellow to come out here in this stage as the rest of the top 10 come across the line. And there it is. Stage 1 complete. Joseph McWhorter is your winner. Adam Benefield slot in P2. Joey Beck in third with Hunter Truex, Bryce Reiner, Bryson Ixenball, Charles Velasquez Jr., Raymond Root, Connery Cunningham, and Noah Woods completing your top 10 at the end of the first stage here at Martinsville tonight. And now we switch our attention to the pit stop starting right about now.
Could be pretty standard 4 tires and fuel after so many laps here. Just get the car filled up. If you need to make a slight adjustment, make it. But so far, that 73 machine is going to be very difficult to beat here.
Yeah, so let's see who's going to be able to capitalize this run through pit lane, make the most out of it. Will it be the 73 still looking to be on the points haul? Brian Wortman has stayed out there on the racetrack, so nice note to see a different strategy from that racer. Ran into some difficulties a little bit earlier on in this first stage. Got to look to try and do a little bit of a different twist as we get into stage number 2. Drivers up on their jacks. Who's going to be the first to come out? Going to be the 73 of Joseph McWhorter. Your stage 1 winner going to lead him out as we see the 83 of Adam Benefield. Some other racers behind. Edward Scherer Jr., I believe, stayed out too, so he's going to be up towards the front of the slightly older tires.
I think Wortman just came in, actually, so that's going to take him out of the equation. And part of the reason you come down on the second time around, if you're at the back of the field here, Ron, is quite simply, if you're that far back, you don't have enough time to get full service down, potentially. So that is where, for many cases, some people will choose to come the second time. In the case of Brian Wortman, he didn't stop at the pit box. He just quite simply said he didn't want to start up at the front of the field and just went to the back.
You know, some good sportsmanship there. Do want to note, though, speaking about the playoffs and how nobody had fully punched their ticket into the next round entering this race, well, 2 already have. Bryson Ixenball and Adam Benefield will be contending for a championship come time for Phoenix in just 1 week's time. And, of course, you'll be able to tune into all of the action here on Maconi Entertainment. We'd like to congratulate Bryson Ixenball and Adam Benefield for clinching a spot into the championship 4. Now they can go at trophy hunting here tonight. Ixenball had a rather anemic run thus far here in the playoffs, looking to get something going here as we enter that season finale at Phoenix next time out. Benefield, meanwhile, going to be restarting this race on that front row alongside stage 1 winner Joseph McWhorter. He's going to be trophy hunting. We're expecting some aggression out of him. Let's see as they head their way out of 4, get into that restart zone as we're back to green flag racing. Getting stage 2 up and rolling here tonight at Martinsville. And once again, McWhorter gets off to a flyer.
Difficult to try and get a run on that 73 clean air becoming king here tonight. But the question will be, can Benefield use that center speed that he's been able to capitalize on for some of his passes already to make another move here, try and get a chance for the race lead? If he can get a long enough run, most of the field has made its way away to the bottom of the field outside. Charles Eden just got uprooted. Everybody else just trying to parade around the bottom like we're seeing here.
Yeah, so right now the Pied Piper of this field seems to be Joseph McWhorter as he still holds on to the race lead. Adam Benefield keeping him honest, though. Up in the front, those two, matter of feet separate them as they head their way off down into the turns. Benefield already getting a little bit racy. Do want to mention about these two, there's a bit of history between these two competitors. Joseph McWhorter and Adam Benefield were battling for a win at Pocono way back in the summer when it got a little bit of argy-bargy there. We had number 83 get booted out of the way by the 73. Those two were really not sparing any expenses in that race, so to speak, at Pocono. Benefield was not best pleased with the number 73 of McWhorter as McWhorter went to victory lane for the first and so far only time this season. So there is a little bit of history between these two competitors, and Benefield may have the opportunity to say, hey, you snookered that win from me a little bit earlier on this season. I'm going to snooker a win from you and pop you out of the round of 4.
I don't know if you do the bopping and the booping and the banging quite yet for the race lead. No, there's some conversation on the radio about that between the two drivers right now, but my thought is quite simply, let the race itself out. Don't just knock each other out of the way. You still have more than half a race to go. We know for a fact that some of these drivers, especially like Benefield, have very long memories, will not tolerate getting banged around too much here, especially this early. I think everyone quite simply is trying to measure up where things go. Hunter Truel has been really solid so far. Truel has been looking pretty consistent, but some of the others that were following along with Hixenbaugh, just running top 5 speed. I think for Hixenbaugh, it's going to be the question, can he find himself that extra long run speed? The orange machine has been, so far, only above average on speed.
And, we haven't really seen a long run go on at this point here in this race. Had 2 yellows during stage number 1, so let's see if we can get a longer run going here. It's been all right, though. We have had those pretty medium runs, but haven't seen a real test of how these drivers are going to be doing. We'll have to see how McWhorter and everybody else will manage the rest of this race. It's now 75 laps on the board of this 250 lap long race. Already getting into crunch time. These racers have already gone physical with each other. May see it a little bit later on in this race, but I think you're exactly right there, JP, as this little note from Howie. At least cautions are quick, unlike Talladega last time out. But no, it brought up a wonderful point there, JP, talking about how you can't boot somebody out of the way at this stage of the race because it's so long left to go. Oh, as that is Charles Ian, mega slow, heading down the back straightaway. We just got to pass it off to you to talk about somebody booting another person out of the way early. We early saw the number 75 get sent off into the shadow realm.
Oh, that's Joey. Joey Beck came up and hit the 75 on corner exit, pushed up a little bit on the bottom, trying to keep it side by side with the gas pin. He was a little bit lower on corner exit, yes, but Beck using the bumper there. He did get the car fixed, the 95 did. That's why he was back there. Lucky not to get a caution flag. Charles Eaton, though, going to have to deal with the same damage Joey Beck did earlier.
Yeah, that was a code brown moment for all of those racers that arrived at the scene of that accident as the first ones. That could have been absolutely catastrophic as they had their way down there. Charles Ian, I can't even imagine the code brown experience that he had through there, most like the other racers that had to arrive and negotiate their way through that chaos as they had their way down the back straightaway. We jump back to the action now and follow this battle involving Noah Woods. He's in the midst of a playoff racer sandwich with Eric Wineland right in front and Kirk Mills right behind. You also got Mason Lowry involved in all that as well. Lowry, a driver that I think deserves to mention. He's been consistent in that number 42 car. I haven't seen him break through into race-winning potential yet, but still very good as Kirk Mills and Noah Woods nearly made contact through 4.
Yeah, a little bit of RG barginess yet again, popping up Mills. Trying to keep on picking up points here. He needs to be able to get the win tonight, quite simply, with how big the margin is here tonight. So far, the patience starting to wear off a little bit here. He needs to find that extra little bit of speed. He's 3/10 off the lead, pace of the leader right now in the midst of these fights. So at this point, Mills just has to keep on picking up spots as long as he can. Help himself for later on as you see the battle for the race lead start to reach traffic.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't brought up the traffic discussion thus far here tonight. Gonna be a big thorn in the side for these competitors all throughout the race. That's Daniel Llewellyn jumping up to the high side, trying to get out of the way. He won the season opening race at Daytona way back in February. But ever since then, he hasn't really been able to get that car into a higher gear. Made it into the playoffs, but was a first round exit. Gonna look to try and round off 2025 and hit the ground running at 26, where I think you'll be looking to have a better result in that season. One racer, though, that's looking to have a better result here tonight is most certainly Joseph McWhorter. He wants to try and visit victory lane, but so too does Benefield. All these playoff racers, locked in or not, want to hit the ground running when they head off to Phoenix next time out, because nothing seems better, and nothing's better for the momentum side of things, too, than a win in the previous race.
Yeah, that's a good point with this right now. Situation, but hold on 1 second before we get to that thought process. Benefield is trying to get McWhorter loose here. Just cannot seem to get the air off the spoiler. Force a bobble right now. Just hasn't been able quite yet to get that exit speed. But getting back to, there's a discussion point. Rainer so far tonight. Just been amongst those, trying to push the envelope, trying to follow his Eric Conti cars. This 5 machine been really fast here this evening, able to go up 4 spots so far, picking up spot after spot, while taking the time to do so without contact.
Yeah, so some racers at this point in this race have kept it very clean, very smooth. They haven't just beat each other with hammers. You know, it's basically like bringing Mother Teresa into a Mexican standoff if anyone decides to keep it fully clean all throughout tonight.
I'm not sure what Mother Teresa has anything to do with race cars, but...
Or Mexican standoffs.
Oh, black flag Eden. So Eden has gone down, and obviously, with his damage came down. It's bed in pit lane, so the 75 is just dug a hole as speaking of digging, the 5 is digging to the inside.
And side-by-side racing, there's a battle for third. He goes for the dive off into 3 and 4. That's Bryce Reiner, the non-playoff racer, looking to continue on. The non-playoff competitor spoils here in the round of 8. Even though this is the penultimate round of the season, everybody wants to go out trophy hunting as we round off 2025. Reiner looking to do it in the 5 cars. They get oh so close to contact as we head our way through there, but we have got a yellow. As for Mason Lowry in the 42 car, that commentator jinx that I threw his way strikes immediately. Mason, I apologize, as he spins coming out turn number 4 to bring out the first yellow here in stage number 2, and let's have a look to see how this came about.
Well, watch Joey Beck is all you can really say. 42 not as quick off the corner exit. Beck got a better corner exit, hits the back end, and Lowry does a good job locking it down to prevent further damage here. That's a little bit argy-barginess from Joey Beck.
Yeah, the classic Martinsville stack up as they headed their way through there. Wiggled by the apex, contact being made coming out of it, and Joey Beck not deciding to keep it patient, decided to run as quickly as he could. Wasn't really too much that he could do there, frankly. I mean, as much as we could say from our perspective here in the broadcast booth, oh, he should have slammed the brakes immediately, dropped the anchors, and get it woed up. They're racing drivers in a very important race, and even for a racer that's not involved in the playoffs, still want to have a good night here at Martinsville. So an unfortunate contact coming out of the turn. It brings out the first yellow of stage number 2, and it comes rather far into it. I mean, we had a 30-ish lap run coming along, a little bit under that, in fact, with the initial yellow as we got to the end of stage 1, but still a pretty long green flag run. In fact, maybe the longest thus far tonight.
Yeah, it's been relatively clean. It's been 1 or 2 car incidents so far. No major stack-ups, no major pile-ups so far. Not to jinx it yet. But the field's been running a very respectful race, especially with the championship circumstances here tonight. Something has to be done, though, if you want to try and take this race lead. The tough thing about the way the race lengths pop up here tonight, there isn't as much on tire strategy we've seen here tonight, with how important the track position is around this racetrack we're on. So it's going to require some bit of luck or gamesmanship if you want to get the job done past the 73. It just seems like Joseph is not making any mistakes right now with that red Campbell racing car.
I know, that's the thing with Martinsville. If you can run a faultless race, you could very well find yourself backing it into victory lane, even if some drivers who have maybe been a little bit quicker than you do run into some difficulties. We'll just have to keep an eye on that 71 car if he can make it through to the very end and break through for his first win at the right time as the pace car is back down pit lane. About to get stage 2 back up and rolling as we are green flag once again. Once again, the 73 gets off to another flyer. McWhorter has been able to master the run on these restarts. 83 though, playing that good game, not fighting it off too hard, heading down to turn number 1 and immediately trying to go into that very good position, hugging that inside curb, running that inside line, and trying to get off to a smooth start.
And again, inside line prevails on these starts. Not much you can really do if you lack the outside line, unless the inside line really makes some mistakes here. Good job by Trill, well, to be able to clear by quickly. But again, Benefield doing really good on those apexes right now up at the front. continues to just eat up the gap like we're seeing near contact for third as well. Maconi machines just have a lot of chassis roll in them.
Yeah, so interesting to see the Team Conti cars all with roughly the same setup. Whether or not that's going to work here, kind of old school flashbacks to the era of the likes of Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, all those guys used to like their setups with just rolling over through the turns as if they were basically driving around in big water beds with V8 engines attached to them and 4 wheels on the bottom. Interesting to see that call for those racers with that setup, but hey, we'll have to see if it can work here tonight. You see an evolution of track conditions, an evolution of this race. Going to be an evening of action that'll keep us on the broadcast booth, all of you viewers tuning into the show on Maconi, and most certainly these drivers on their toes from the start all the way through to the finish. As for the first time in pretty much the entirety of the race, all of the playoff racers, with the exception of Lucas Hoytsma, who parked it early, all running inside of the top 10.
Really good for them so far, absolutely. When it comes to their speed. Keep an eye on Beck, by the way. He's gotten rear damage again, by the way. So again, like we'll lose some time in the pit stop cycle when we come down at 120 for repairs. Does have some of his teammates, though, wanting to find a way through. Edward Jr. trying to find a way to squeak on by in that blue Toyota. Still not sure why exactly the 10 came down during the middle of the green flag run in the first place, but so far, he's been able to pick things off. Beck, that's a little bit brave. That's a shallow line. That was not going to work unless he was able to get alongside by an extra car length.
Yeah, there's only one way that was going to go with that move down into the turn. These racers, you can already sense a little bit of frustration brewing under the helmets. Starting to see these racers go for the dives, go for the moves, be a little bit more argy-bargy, and make these sense when they really should. And side by side with the 95 and the 10, that's Edward Scherer Jr. on the inside, Joey Beck. We'll have to see if anyone else follows in tow. Yeah, it's Connery Cunningham getting that move done on the 95 car as well, getting very close to the back of the 10 as they head their way through there, as we have got ourselves another yellow. And once again involves the 58 and the 88. This time the 35 gets a piece of the drama as well.
I think the 29 also got a piece of it there. Deech having some troubles yet again, and I think this one was undergoing LAC. He's going deep in the corners, feeling pressure for Tanner Marti just in case he goes too early for contact. Sends himself too deep, loops it around in front of the 29, and that obviously causes the caution as he slides back up the track. Look out.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not really holding his brakes. Gave a bit of a spook to some of the first racers that arrived at that. I gotta say, Matthew Boston Wheeler may have some slight cosmetic damage to the back left-hand side of his race car, because he scraped the 88 a little bit, as that's Kleinman seeing that 88 back up, try and get it turned around. That will bring out the yellow, the second one in the second stage, and I believe that would on the whole be the 5th of the night, if my memory serves me correctly. Is that right there is Matthew Boston Wheeler getting the wave around to get back on the lead lap. Doesn't look like he's actually picked up damage and all of that, has picked up the lucky dog, so it's not game, set, match for him. Even if he had a bit of a code brown moment, he got the lucky dog, so I guess those two kind of counteract.
Absolutely. We'll say this, though. This going to mix things up a little bit with Joey Beck having to come down for repairs. It might get be a bit interesting here on the next caution flag for the end of the stage, likely, if Joey Beck's able to get back cranked up here. There's a chance he cycles himself to the front here with the pit stops, with a small difference on the tires, so this might actually benefit the 95 at the time of the caution flag here. It's been pleasant, as the director said.
Yeah, it has been a very pleasant night up to this point. I don't want to say too much, because that's usually when the commentator Jinx Falling Anvil comes down, issued with my full legal name and address just stapled right on top of it. But it has been a very good night of racing action up to this point. These racers have been keeping it calm, cool, and collected. It has been a pretty cool evening up to this point at Martinsville, and we're not just talking about those ambient track conditions, which still continue to go down. Track temps drooping down even more, air temps drooping down once again. See, that is like perfect weather for me, but again, I I'm an unhealthy fat man that lives and dies by pastry, so I'm definitely a little bit biased in that regard. But here we go, another restart. We'll have to see if McWhorter can once again get off to a flyer in that number 73 car, as he has done all throughout the night. And keep an eye on that 83. May get a little bit nervous here as we get into the final few laps of the second stage, as well as we're back to green flag running here at Martinsville, and it's once again a fantastic restart from the 73. 83 this time, though, feeling some pressure from the 71 as Hunter Truex staking his claim on that inside line, not able to make it stick as they had their way down the back straightaway, but Benefield having a bit of a spook from the 71 of Truex.
Yeah, again, that 71 able to get a decent launch, but nothing doing. Benefield's doing as much as he can. 73, trouble! No Woods
That's
going
no
around
Woods.
in the heart of the field, yeah. No one hit him.
That's a Christmas miracle. Spinning around and avoiding any sort of extra drama. Let's see exactly what happened. Runs up through there, hits the marbles, and everybody avoided him. Very close call from Tim Phillips in the 27 machine. Outside of that, no, Woods gonna leave that with all that he really got, and all that was slightly flat spotted tires, slightly bruised ego, and he's running a heck of a lot farther back than he once was. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, hit the blacktop. Went very deep into the turn, hit the marbles and the dirt on the outside, as my dad usually calls it, the OPR, the other people's rubber. And as soon as that happened, around he goes like a top. Whoop!
Yep, great effort by Tim Phillips to be able to dodge that. Had to have quick reflexes. And as you would expect, some people are flipping the stage here. Hicks and Bob Benefield amongst them. It's still likely going to be Joey Beck cycling to the front with Charles Vasquez Jr. next time out, though, with the way things are positioned. Vasquez right now ahead of the 95. These drivers going to be lined up in front of McWhorter. McWhorter going to be in traffic at the end of the stage.
And that's going to be a slightly terrifying end to it. McWhorter was running smooth at the end of stage number one. Frankly, he didn't really have too much bothering him at the end. He had some challenges earlier on in stage one, but then as we got to the end, he was feeling rather comfortable, maybe relaxed, the most relaxed out of anybody out there on the racetrack. But this is going to be a different affair. You got Hunter Truex. Now, how do you cut this if you are Hunter Truex? Because at the end of the day, you're in must-win territory. It doesn't really matter. You could ride a unicorn to a win in stage 1 and 2, and you'd still be in a must-win situation. So Hunter Truex, I think it's probably in his best interest to maybe just be there, avoid any sort of drama, slip back in tow, and be up there at the front come time for the start of stage 3. So I think Hunter Truex may decide to play it a little bit careful. McWhorter, meanwhile, wants to maximize the stage points, and that'd be a very good way for him to do it. Was a first driver in the playoffs heading off into this round of the season. He entered this race 14 above the cutoff line with a win in stage 1, and we'll see if he can get the double and win it in stage 2. He would do himself a heck of a lot of favors, as we are only going to have about a 5-lap dash to the end of the second stage with Joseph McWhorter in the 73, Hunter Truex in the 71. Those two will complete your front row. Eric Wineland looking to have another good night here in that 87. He'll be alongside Raymond Root on the back row, as here we go back to green flag racing, and once again McWhorter gets off to a flyer. Now Truex going to feel the pressure from Raymond Root on the inside from side by side as they head their way out of 1 and 2 down the backstretch downtown to 3 and 4 right now. Will Hunter Truex make it work? Will they make it work with 3 wide racing a little bit farther behind? That's a 95 trying to stick a 3 wide. Joey Beck really cutting some shapes on these restarts.
Yeah, not afraid to be aggressive is all you can say. Woods Jr. also the same, a little bit of trouble in the back. Woods again having a moment. We still stay green, as Woods is not having any favors from anybody in the 56.
Yeah, Noah Woods got shown the door about 15 times off through turn 1 and 2. The exact same spot that he got shown the door last time and looped it. It ended in a similar way for him. He held on to it. The reflexes of a ninja to keep that car going in a somewhat straight line. He's out there on the racetrack, albeit running down in P15, not the spot he wanted to be in at the end of this stage. Speaking of, though, 2 laps away from the end of stage number 2, McWhorter leads over Hunter Truex, over Raymond Root. Those top 3 have broken away as the likes of Wineland, Velasquez Jr., and Scherer Jr. running right behind Velasquez, another racer involved in that must-win situation. You got two must-win drivers, in fact, going side by side with Velasquez trying to make a run work on the outside off into 1 and 2. That's gutsy.
Yeah, a little bit of a brake move for the outside, but coming up to the end of the stage, coming up here, everyone wants those spots.
Oh, everybody does. Everybody's getting physical. They're going for the moves. They're going for the dives. They're trying to make things work at the very end. The yellow is out, and that is the end of the stage. Joseph McWhorter going to walk away with the double. 1 in stage 1, wins in stage number 2. We'll get those results loaded up for you right about now. Hunter Truel slotted in P2, Raymond Root in 3rd, with Charles Velasquez Jr. and Eric Wineland, the last of the playoff racers inside the top 10 at the end of the 2nd stage. Edward Scherer Jr., Joey Beck, Cliff Mullins, Bryce Reiner, and Tanner Marty complete your top 10 at the end of stage number 2. But here we go. Got a smattering of drivers coming down pit lane. Velasquez Jr. going to stay on that number 64 car as the 73, the 71, the 91, the 87, and everybody else going to follow in suit. Down come the marching ants into pit lane, and let's see who's going to get the breadcrumb out of the picnic.
Yeah, this is going to be hard for some of the drivers that have controlled things the first 2 stages. No positioning for them to work around here now. So let's find out how this is going to go for all these drivers in the midst of the traffic. Surprise, Joey Beck came back down because he could have very likely have controlled the stage. Instead, it's going to come down for the tires. It's going to be amongst those outside the top 10 for the restart. It's the 64 that gets to control things now from here on out. 16 lap difference is not too much for Martinsville. It's going to be hard for all those drivers on the older tires to cut through all this.
Yeah, that's going to be a super tough ask. You raised this a little bit earlier on in the broadcast, JP. You talked about how getting a move done here at Martinsville, you probably have to wait about 10 laps to actually make a move stick. You could be side by side for a decent handful of laps, and you could really be just frustrated behind that competitor. That 127 laps that we have left, that can go by rather quickly here at Martinsville. It's a paperclip. It's a super short track, short tempers as we get to the end. Some racers may decide to get a bit more physical than others, but you got to wonder whether or not a brave call in this final stage is actually going to work well for these competitors. That is a double-edged sword because it may feel good, but at the same time, there's less spots to get a move done. This track it's an odd one. There's really nothing like Martinsville.
Yes. So now it's going to become the question, how do some of these drivers play this with new handlers up on the front of the field? Already looking like some of the drivers are still trying to sort out where they're supposed to be restarting here. Not sure what's going on there with the inside, but it's going to be interesting with the Conti cars up front.
So let's see, it's the start of stage 3 here in the penultimate round of the season as we are back to racing, diving out to the outside early. Charles Velasquez Jr. That was a huge lane change, but he did it right as we came across the line as they're stacking up big time a little bit farther behind.
Yeah, Hunter Truel just got set hard into the wall by Edward Scherer Jr. on a checkup on the outside line. Just took a hard shunt to the front nose. I'm surprised that car's still going with how hard the hit was.
And that is going to make his task a heck of a lot harder at the end of this race. We'll have to keep an eye on that number 71 car, see how far he drops back. And let's take a look at the moment that caused him to get this damage in the first place. It was chaos on this restart. We were expecting it at the start of stage 3. And here we go. See the field enter that restart zone. Truel already gunning it. You got the number 91 of Raymond Root on the inside. Contact being made. A huge hit into that wall. Thankfully for him, that hood pops back into spot. It popped out like a misshapen Lego for a brief couple of moments, but it's back into form. Down in P20, though, Truel probably with some suspension damage, too. That was a big whack.
Yeah, that's going to absolutely destroy the 71 car's chance the rest of the day, to say the very least, with the initial whack. But everyone else is going to have to play the game of trying to maintain, if not try and gain on track position. McWhorter has been able to at least get back to the top 5. Right now, the lap times are faster than everybody else in front by about a tenth of a second. You have drivers like Kirk Mills trying to position themselves here and hope they can hold off that 73 that seems so solid right now in this traffic.
Now that we talk about the traffic, the lap traffic may play a role in this race a little bit later on, but for now, these racers just have to worry about the spots they're battling out there on the racetrack. Drivers with very different agendas, drivers with very different ideas as to how this race is going to go for them. Some have aspirations of grandeur, others just looking to survive the night. And look at that! Yeah, oh boy! Look at that, that was the number 63 of Bryson Hicksonball, already locked into the next round of the playoffs. He's in the championship 4, but his tires don't believe that he's taking it easy because he had a huge sideways snap coming out of 1 and 2. That was a cowboy ride from Hicksonball. Yeehaw.
Yeah, after getting pushed up to the high side earlier, able to just hold on from the initial send with the contact. Now was forced into other battles from here on out. Hicksonball has had some battles, to say the very least, tonight. At the very least, gets battled for Phoenix. In live action, though, the 56 just got punted. Back to their caution. That's just after we kind of wait for this replay. They just had another stack up.
And once again, the 56 running into trouble into turn number 1 and 2 has not been his favorite corner in the world. Probably his least favorite corner in the world, frankly. It's contact with himself in the 91 of Raymond Root. Oh, so close with the 42. Making a slight amount of contact, I think, with the front bumper of the 56 machine. But either way, no, Woods punted into a spin down into 1, and we'll take a look at this from Raymond Root's perspective, having to keep that momentum rolling down into the turn. And there's a contact, and around he's going to go just as quick as a contact is made. Thankfully, though, the racing gods punishing Raymond Root by pretty much blocking the road for him. Had to treat turn 1 and 2 and treat that number 56 car like a rolling chicane off through there as we got some pit stops in live time with Woods, along with that 71 of Hunter Truex looking to come down pit lane. That's a heartbreaking moment for Truex with that damage because he was putting on such a good drive tonight.
Yeah, now this race has just been completely scrambled up. Richard Jr. at the very least going to have to fix the front nose for a while now. At this point, some apologies going over the radio as a result of that contact that had popped up essentially from that situation. But McWhorter Jr., Joseph McWhorter rather, is doing a good job cutting through these cars pretty well run. He's been able to slice well, has been able to dice. And now it's the matter of seeing if he can find his way around the Conti Express over the front of some of these drivers, take some tires or fuel, and this should get them towards the end, or to the end.
Yeah, so drivers are already having to angle themselves to see what they can do at the very end. I gotta wonder, though, in terms of setting yourself up for fuel, we have to worry about the possibility of having any overtime. Been a hectic race up to this point. Not the most hectic one that we have had in these playoffs, though. Honestly, probably Las Vegas was the other most hectic race that we've had thus far this season. But if we do have a green-white checkered and overtime attempts a little bit later on, you do have to have a little bit more in your back pocket if we do end up in overtime situations. JP, I'm not sure if you've had any situations like that over in the FLC where drivers try to just target right at the very end as it would have gone to regulation, but overtime really threw a big wrench in the works. We'll have to see. That is the case at Martinsville. Certainly happens a heck of a lot in real life. Maybe happening in the sim here tonight. As let's see who's going to set themselves up the best for the end. Who's going to set themselves up the best for this restart? As it's got to be Charles Velasquez Jr. alongside Adam Benefiel as we get this race back up and rolling. 112 laps to go at the line. As here we go. Velasquez guns it back to green flag racing once again. Slightly less on the aggressive dive up to the high side to cover on the Velasquez really going a little bit squirrely as he heads his way down to 1 on these restarts.
Oh, Beck having some more aggression yet again in the pack. He is just not afraid to drive through a lot of this traffic and not afraid to bump anyone. Even nearby his own teammates will send it 3 wide. Joey just taking no prisoners tonight. And that's now opened up Kirk Mills to be taken advantage of by the 63.
He has been cutthroat in that number 95 car really ever since the drop of the green flag. Joey Beck, who at one point was running as high as second, looking to get back up into that spot as here we go, side by side up in the front, Adam Benefiel and Charles Velasquez Jr. as a battle now for the race lead. Benefiel going to jump his way up to the front now. Look at Bryce Reiner in that 5 car. He's got a bump from the 73. He's now got the 73 on the inside of him. Thought it was going to be the 5 challenging the 64. No, it's a 5 getting challenged by the 73. Side by side as they head their way off down the backstretch into 3 and 4. Will McWhorter get that move done? He wants to jump back into that race lead. He was much more comfortable there than he is right now, as he is still trying to make this work on Reiner.
Yeah, still trying to make the pass. 64 quite simple, got loose for the race lead in 1 and 2. That opened up the door for Benefiel. For McWhorter, it's not going to be as easy as a chance here to be able to make this pass. Might actually get the chance if he wants to get side by side for second at least, though, because of this wide arc that the 64 keeps trying here to use the higher line on corner exit. There's one pass. Now it's time for the next one, as here comes Joey.
And look at Joey Beck in that number 95 car now challenging the 5. Side by side or very close to it as they head their way down into 1 and 2 right now. Gotta worry about the 73 now, the inside the 64. That's a battle for 2 playoff racers, 1 in must-win situation. Other looking quite all right in the points as look at the 95 carries a whole lot of speed down to 3 and 4. Thought he was gonna try and get to the back bumper of the 5. A little bit too far away to make that work, but the 73 still trying to apply some pressure to Velasquez Jr. side by side at the apex, out of the turn and onto the backstretch. They're gonna go, and all this out of Benefiel, extending that gap now to about 1 second at the north end of it as these racers continue to duke it out for P2.
Yes, indeed. Will McWhorter be able to make this pass quickly? That 64 is getting looser and looser at the wrong time. McWhorter on the charge. Now it's a question, can he get to Benefiel, as that 64 machine just is not looking stable right now. It is not a fun time right now for Velasquez Jr. to be able to hold on corner exits here.
And Charles Velasquez Jr., we look at the race wins that he has had up to this point in this season. It's a, whoa, boy, I thought there was got to be those two spinning off the roads. We've run on board with Ixenball. It's a fantastic view of these two continuing to duke it out for P4 and P5, just allowing those races a little bit farther up the road to drive off into the sunset. In fact, you can see the gap that is built out between Velasquez and Beck and the back of Bryce Reiner in that number 5 car as these two continue to chase each other's tail in this battle. Joey Beck, we've already seen he's taking no prisoners here tonight. He is throwing everything at it and seeing what will stick on that wall. And Velasquez, we talked about it already in this show, and we'll raise it once again. Entered this race in a must-win situation when it comes to those playoffs, and for a driver who won the spring race at Phoenix, he knows that he has a darn good shot to maybe win the championship if he can make it into the championship 4. So if anybody's feeling some pressure of the racers involved in that playoff situation yet to lock themselves in, it probably is Velasquez Jr., because he knows he has a damn good shot to do well next week.
Absolutely, especially since Phoenix can be a pretty tricky track in general. It takes a lot of skill as a driver and also a good setup in general to be able to win there. So I think for your top contenders here, it is absolutely going to be in their wheelhouse. Caution, Mullins around this time, the 82.
I think Tanner Marty got a piece of that action as well, as you can see the number 29 car of Marty maybe crabbing a little bit, heading down the backstretch. Let's take a look at this as Raymond Root got the move done on the 82 car. 29 comes barreling in like a bat out of hell. Contact being made. Bing, bang with the 06 of Matthew Boston Wheeler. The other car, the bottom piece of bread in the midst of that sandwich, down into 1 and 2. Really nothing that the 06 could have done there, as the 29 looked like he carried a boatload of speed heading down in there, maybe feeling some pressure from a dive from the 06. Yes, he was. So the 06 and Matthew Boston Wheeler may have stoked the flames and all of that.
Yeah, some of these drivers just getting a little bit too antsy here in these situations right now, and that really sparks up the chance for these bits of contact that we see in the back of the field. Quite simply, when you have that sense of urgency to come around the bottom like that, that opens up the chances for contact to pop up when you're trying to block the bottom and protect as much as you will. Do we see a lot of pit stops, though, for some of the people getting damage repairs? Daniel Wallen, who's been having a rough night. Still 15 laps down, but he only needs a lot more cautions to go.
Yeah, if Daniel Llewellyn can just get these lucky dogs all the time, eventually he will probably be leading the race by about 5 laps. That'd be a darn good race for Llewellyn. It'd be a very interesting way to go back into victory lane. I'm not sure if iRacing would allow that, but you know, hey, I've seen stranger things. I don't even have a Netflix account. 96 laps left to go here in this race as we see the field starting to pack up here, maybe getting a restart sooner rather than later. And I gotta say, talking about the trouble on these restarts, JP, it's been very smooth in terms of racers going through the gears and getting it back up and rolling. Haven't seen anybody really have a catastrophic amount of wheel spin and stack them up coming to take the green.
Yeah, so far, the deep braking zones have led to some of that arch-barging in terms of the gate packs. I'm very curious how things go with the 95 once again now up in front, who has been not afraid to go bonk, bonk, bonk on the sends, not afraid to take a 3 wide of the opportunities there. And he is second, in fact third, out of those on the newer set of tires here outside of Eric Wineland. So watch for the 95 to push the envelope to try and get around the Conti Express.
Yeah, so who's going to cause this train to derail? Let's just find out as we get this restart back up and rolling with Adam Benefiel leading us to green once again. Got the 73 of Joseph McWhorter trying to fight this issue on the high side. He's got the final place, Reiner. And look at the 95 of Joey Beck involved in that as well. A little bit of wall scraping, a bit of a moment for Brian Workman there in the back of Shaz. They headed their way off through 1 and 2, but never mind that, off through 3 and 4. We've still got racers going side by side. Nobly up in the front with Reiner trying to steal P2 from McWhorter, who's trying to hold on to that top running spot as long as he can. He loses out on P3, may lose out on 4th, as here comes Joey Beck. He's currently got, oh man, Charles Velasquez right alongside him. Thought that was going to be 3 cars spinning off the track as the 95 got oh so close to the back of the 73. But right now, Joey Beck is being a bit of the thorn in the side to all these playoff racers, which is great from our perspective, but probably not hurting him a whole lot of friends.
No, not really, and at this point, he just wants to get a good finish. Quite simple as that. He wants to be able to try and win this race. Easier said than done. Kirk Mills, meanwhile, missed the bottom. Oh, that's not going to be helpful. Cut right across Wineland, trying to hold onto the race car. Wineland lucky he's not getting turned here.
Oh, that could have ended in a yellow about 5 times. The wild ride that Bryson Ixenball had as they headed their way out of 1 and 2. He nearly wiped out the 87 of Wineland as they got back up and rolling. Mason Lowry now battling with Ixenball for P8, but that could have ended so much worse than it already did. A lot of time lost from Ixenball. He's already locked into the championship 4, so no need to worry in that regard. But it has stacked up the field a little bit. Look at the train of cars running right behind Ixenball. You got Lowry right behind in 9th. Raymond Root battling with Matthew Boston Wheeler for the final spot inside the top 10. Those two have had their fair share of drama up to this point in the race. Noah Woods and Cliff Mullins duking it out right behind these racers. It is a hornet's nest of cars that we've got on screen right now.
Yeah, just absolute mess, just trying to get yourself around the bottom. Be able to try and dime it off the exit, get the pole, get yourself clear, go forward from there. It's been a number time for Noah Woods, for example. Thing is, Noah Woods doesn't seem very stable, has been all over the place this corner with the lines. He's trying to extra cover things off. You can see, though, heavy brake smoke with some of these drivers sending it extra deep.
Yeah, these drivers are sending it into these turns, hauling the mail, whatever phrase you want to use. We're getting into crunch time from this race, most certainly in crunch time from this season. After tonight, we've got the season finale, and that is it from the 2025 Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here on Maconi Entertainment. If you're enjoying the action, happy to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because this is some great racing that we've got on all throughout the field. We've got this battle that we've got on screen right now. We've got this side-by-side racing involving the 10 and the 82. All of these racers are getting more physical. They're getting a bit more aggressive. They're seeing the end of this race come up in the not too far off future, and they're starting to spook their rivals into a mistake.
That's kind of what you have to do, right? It's about pressurizing your opponent into a mistake to set up an opportunity to get to the inside and make the pass. There's no other way to describe it because this track is so difficult to actually make said move in the first place. So if you are physical, you have to try and use the mental. Try and out-strategize your opponent like a chessboard. And that's what we're seeing from a lot of these cases where they're just hoping, slowly but surely, to grind away these efforts here to move forward. That 5 machine keeping the pressure high for the race lead, by the way. Benefield doing a real good job planting it. But remember, Reiner going a little bit deeper in the braking zone to close up to the boss man. One of the boss men.
Yeah, and speaking about the driver that Adam Benefield has been up to this point in the championship, 5 wins for him, the last coming at the final race of the round of 12 at the Charlotte Roval. His first win, though, this season came at this exact same racetrack. It was Martinsville back in the spring. We'll see if he can go for the double here at Martinsville in 2025. Saw the 58 very slow in the start-finish straightaway. That's Richard Kleinman. He's had his fair share of trouble up to this point in the race, and they have just had to continue on as we see him heading his way onto the back straightaway, looking clean right now. Got the 88 of Michael Deitch a little bit farther behind him, carrying a lot of speed off into the turn. He slides, contact being made, and very lucky that he kept that car rolling, because if he didn't, that probably would have been a yellow.
Very lucky, absolutely, here with the way things have gone here tonight. But still with the race leaders, still trying to find different ways to move ahead here. Well, that's not going to help. Definitely want technical issues to not be a factor here in this case. And remember, if things boil over up front, that 73 McWhorter has the speed to get the job done here too. You see that speed differential near identical, really, on the interval.
Yeah, these two going tit for tat when it comes to lap time. Sometimes Reiner gains, sometimes Benefield gains. It's looking like the past 2 laps have been slight gains for Benefield as he still continues to try and hold on to the race lead for as long as he can. I think right now what Benefield has to worry about more than Reiner is McWhorter. He is there. He's keeping these 2 racers honest. He's just slowly but surely hoving into view as we get farther along into this stage of the race. Benefield been an absolutely fantastic driver to keep tabs on thus far this season. So too has Reiner. These 3 have had their own fair share of good storylines, good moments, and good nights this season. I mean, hey, had 31 races leading up into this 32nd race of the championship. Everybody's gone a taste of victory lane at some point. Benefield's gone to do it 5 times. If he can get the 6th here tonight, he'll be as close as he can get to potentially tying with Bryson Ixmal in terms of wins thus far this season. Benefield has turned things up a notch here tonight.
Absolutely. So helpful to be able to win. You can see McWhorter, by the way, at all this, just finding that little edge right there, able to chip away slowly. Every time through center, able to try and make the time stand up, has been able to get closer and closer little bit by bit as this run goes on, and he's not rapidly quicker, he's just marginally a little bit quicker overall wise. I think he's going to have to get physical if he wants to try and take the spot for the 5 though, long term. The problem is whenever he gets too close, the car just seems to slide away from Ron and just doesn't have as much grip as he's looking for on the corner exit.
Yeah, this is the longest green flag run that we've had in this race, the longest run that we've had since a round of pit stops. So starting to see the handling slowly but surely fade away on these cars. We're not running in the heat of the Virginia sun. We're not having to worry about that. But we are seeing this racetrack begin to heat up. Track temperatures now at 81 Fahrenheit with this long green run that we're in at the moment. It's just about the hottest we've had it at all throughout tonight. And there you can see that slow but sure tick up of the track temperatures. The ambient has remained pretty much exactly the same at 70 Fahrenheit. This track is about as hot as it has ever been, and the handling's starting to fall away from these competitors. We'll have to see who's been able to manage their tires the best, as now we get to the most important parts of having good tires. You got the lap traffic. If you got good tires and you got the lap traffic to worry about, you're going to be good. If your tires are worn down to the canvas, though, you may have a bit more trouble on your hands.
Yeah, we're about halfway through the stints, by the way, here at this point. At this point, the field gonna have to quite simply think of it this way. Just try and measure up on this end for the run in total. Get yourself in a decent spot from here on out. Joey Beck, by the way, is holding on to the fourth spot here. The downside is 2 seconds back of the leader. He's a 10th off the pace. These two are both not there on the tempo. So for the 95 and 64, they'll need a caution flag in particular. Because who is Munster's below the cut line coming in. Needs a lot of luck to be able to gain all this as well. McWhorter's car started to fade a little bit. Something going on there where he's falling back here this run. As you see, things separate and change for the race lead.
Bryce Reiner coming out of nowhere to jump into the race lead over Adam Benefiel. Swapperoo at the front for the first time in a while. That number 5 car has been very delicate on his tires. Will he keep the streak going of non-playoff racers pulling off the upset here in the round of 8? Looking to be that case at the moment with 66 laps still left to go. Benefiel, though, holding on to that upper hand as a race winner at the same racetrack back in the spring. He's shown some great pace already, but Bryce Reiner able to blow his doors off just a matter of a handful of laps ago, but Benefiel's still right there to pounce. I wonder if that may have been a slightly conscious call from Benefiel to let Reiner by so he could be the one that has to deal with the lap traffic first.
Decent point here. I think quite simply, though, it's that the fact 5 has just been that little bit quicker in the terms of the run as of late. Benefiel just knew he's already got himself in. Why not let the teammate control things up the front, see where things go? Maybe felt like he was holding up a little bit. Look at how big this gap has already grown in the first place. Shows that Bryce has really learned this track and he's recognized the speed for speed.
I mean, hey, if you're trying to follow anybody around this racetrack, a pretty darn good teacher would be the driver that won this race back in the spring. So Reiner did himself a heck of a lot of favors throughout this race, running behind Benefiel, seeing what he could do, and saying, you know what, I can match this tango as well, and maybe even I could keep up the tempo a little bit higher than you can. So Reiner jumps up to the front. Benefiel slot in P2, McWhorter in 3rd. I want to go through the rest of the playoff racers. Charles Velasquez Jr. slotted in 5th. Bryson Ixenball already locked in, is right behind in 6th. Eric Wineland in 7th. Kirk Mills in 8th. Hunter Truel 37 laps down in P22. He is just about out of it when it comes to the playoffs. Such a shame because Truel was putting together a really good race, but then things really fell apart as look at Kirk Mills. Speaking of things falling apart for him, had a good race going at Talladega, got struck by a falling anvil, and he now loses out to 10th on Mason Lowry.
Yeah, damage on the race car. He's just not had the grip on this run. Quite simply, he keeps sliding around. He needed a perfect race tonight, just hasn't had it on speed. Some of these other drivers here just right now on their average 20.3s isn't going to cut it, quite simply. They're off on the long run with how things have gone so far. And they could be at risk getting a lap by the end of this race with the way things are shaping up here. Contact. Cunningham walked up the track following the 10 as he slid around. These drivers having a hard time getting the corner exit down.
Yeah, starting to see these cars have a shift. They were looking rather nicely handling. I mean, nicely handling, certainly in massive air quotes, these Xfinity cars, as you said a little bit earlier on, JP, not known for being the smoothest handlers. They're not Formula One cars, this, both when it comes to technology and grip, and most certainly aero. However, even by the standards that these cars usually go by in the early stages of a stint, you can tell the handling is starting to fall off. The lap times are starting to drop down. the drivers' comfort levels are starting to drop down as well. I mean, hey, a matter of about 50 laps ago, we wouldn't have seen these racers be as sideways as they are coming out of these turns. With 83 laps on some of these Goodyears, there's only so much these tires can take before eventually they're just going to run out of grip.
Yeah, the fall-off band here, mind you, is about tonight. Watch the field. 1.5 seconds. It's part of the nature of the race car. Some of the best, yet again. And this has been a trend in the Cup car too here, Ron. Thought it was just that car, but it seems to be the whole tire model these days. Is if you fall off more than 9/10 over the course of 30, 40, 50 laps on any short track, and in some cases the 1.5 miles, you need to go to the workshop. Because after that point, it becomes so hard to be able to keep up with the pace of the main competitors. And the best just know how to minimize tire slide, minimize tire wear, and in turn, just have that rapid speed. Some of these drivers have had that fall off, reach that specific band wrong, but didn't have the fire off either to match. It's about having the best fire off, having the best long runs, about the best of both worlds, while also being the best in all the worlds.
And I also got to bring up the setup discussion into that as well. You got a good setup, and you can keep it smooth, keep it clean, and not beat the tires too badly. I think the best way that I can describe the way that you got to treat the tires is it's basically like treating a hand towel that you've got next to your kitchen sink. If you use it too often, eventually that towel just isn't going to work the same as that was side-by-side racing with the 78 and the 56 off through 3 and 4. May have been a bit of a wiggle from the 56 as these drivers are still converging on lap traffic and causing this field to stack up a little bit more. This battle that we've got on screen right now with Woods and Connery Cunningham, that's a battle for 12th as they catch up to the likes of Edward Scherer Jr. and Kirk Mills. Scherer Jr. currently holding on to the final spot of the top 10. Mills looking to have a breakout night for his first win this season to try and get into the championship for. Still been a great season from Kirk, but running at 11th right now, may not be able to make it into that championship race.
No, at this point, he's a miracle. Quite simply. A vast majority of these drivers tonight, with the way the point situation came in tonight, needed a perfect race. The problem is, the best have stood out to show why they're the best here. And right now, the main question is who's going to get the 4th spot. Because again, I don't think Lucas Heusman gets it with the bumper right now. Even unless there's a big swing on the point, it just does not seem like it's going to be that feasible here unless things hold on. Eric Wineland has been doing decent. There's so many questions is what I'm saying here, and it's so hard to get the math down in the head, but we'll say it's going to be close depending on how things go here. Eric Wineland, for reference, just running 7th, right in front of Raymond Root. And Wineland is amongst those that have now fallen off 1.1 seconds all of a sudden.
Ooh, it's Raymond Root and Eric Wineland getting oh so close to contact as they had their way off through turn number 1 and 2. As these cars start to fall off in the grip department, as the handling begins to drop down, these bits of side-by-side racing are going to get more and more scary. We're going to get more and more nervous here in the broadcast booth as the opportunity to have a yellow that would completely turn this race on its head grows higher and higher. We've been on a very long green flag run up to this point in the race, probably the longest one that we've had thus far tonight, and these tires are feeling the burn. May not be hot, may not be too hot in terms of ambient or track conditions for that matter. However, these drivers and their tires are feeling the burn. They are scared. They are worn down to the canvas, frankly, as that's a 56. No Woods up into the wall yet again off through turn number 1 and 2. He's going to get overtaken by some of the drivers up in the front. They lap him as we take a look to see what happened. Was it a slide? You can see the handling already pour on that race car as he may have gotten a bootscoon boogie from the 78. Yes, he did.
Yikes again. He has just been bounced around like a bouncy ball all night. It's been a horrific night, to say the very least, for Noah Ward. Has not had too many friends on the racetrack. All that being said here, take a look to see if Hixenbach can at least get a top 5 here to close things out for the round of 8. He is digging pretty well, closed up a 10th last time by. That 64 has not been stable corner exit lately.
Yeah, he really hasn't. I think everybody is feeling just at their wits' end, at their tires' end for sure. If we saw some of the other tires as they come off these race cars, they would probably be worn down to the cords, worn down to the canvas. You just see it out of even the most confident racers, the drivers who have been in a groove all throughout the night. They're falling out of that groove as time goes along. You could be anybody, and you're still gonna feel that tire fall off. I mean, hey, we are so long into these stints that there's only so much you can do. It reaches a certain point where these races pretty much just have to hold on and hope that they can make it to the end with a little bit of their sanity left and some clean race cars. 38 laps now left to go from the round of 8. Looking good for Benefield and Hixenbach. They've already advanced into the championship for Joseph McWhorter, maximizing the points in the stages, running in 3rd right now. There's a swaparoo between Raymond Root and Eric Wineland. He's running in 7th at the current moment, while the drivers trying to lock their way into the playoffs with a must-win situation. The other being the driver he's now side-by-side with, as Charles Velasquez Jr. may have run into some difficulties off through 1 and 2, loses out on a boatload of time. He pulls out to the inside yet again. Something is wrong with that number 64 car. He is dropping down like nobody's business as the driver still battle right in front of him.
Now, this is not good at all for his championship circumstances here. I think he's just overcooked the tires, quite simply. Remember, he's already more than 100 laps on his set of Goodyear Eagles. I think at this point, he is absolutely near the end of the life cycle for the tires and is going to be pushing it on the fuel window in the first place here. I think he was hoping for a caution flag a lot sooner than this to be able to at least equalize on tires. And by this point in his game plan, probably being top 4, but it's not been that circumstance here tonight, as 64 needs to hold on for dear life, just keeps on fighting it.
Yeah, he is still swinging. That's the thing about Charles Velasquez Jr. That's the thing about all these playoff racers. They have that resilience. They're not going to give up. They're not going to say it's over until this race is well and truly over. So as we get closer and closer to the end with tires worn down to the rims and drivers worn out after a long season that we have had, they are still going to be giving it everything that they have. The playoffs going to be the main talking point throughout the rest of this race, as it has been already. We'll, in a couple of moments, reach out for extra word about Lucas Hoytsma, the driver who entered this race 25 points above that playoff cutoff line. Entered this race with a good cushion, but because he didn't really participate in any of it here tonight, he may be out of it. Certainly one driver out of it is Hunter Trull. He's now officially out of this race, has decided to call it quits, or breaking way for the season to end for the driver. The number 71 car looked oh so quick early on, but a quick low incident, a boot off into the turn, and things went to hell in a handbasket shortly thereafter.
Yep, and now, at this point, this race sprinting towards the very end right now. This long run, somewhere almost 100 laps by the time we get through said stint here tonight. It kind of showcases what everyone's learned. I know there was a lot of panic from some of the drivers potentially tonight because it's Martinsville. It's expected to be a long night. Expect to have a lot of cautions. You're expected to at least hate the person next to you for at least a little bit. But tonight, it's been clean. We'll say this. I know there was discussion before on will we be good on fuel. I think it's going to be good on the gas. It's more so at this case, are the cars going to be able to last with the grip levels the rest of the way without someone stepping around? The reason I say that, Marty just jumped down pit road already. Will anybody else take a gamble here who was in the 100, going to be close to 130, 140 laps here?
And we are into crunch time, and this battle has a lot riding on it as we see Eric Wineland get a little bit sideways, heading out of the turn. I looked into the information. I got further word about it. Here is the driver that we need to keep tabs on. If Eric Wineland can finish 4th or above in this race, that is going to knock out Lucas Hoytsma from the playoffs. If we see Wineland finish P5 or lower, that is going to be music to the ears of Hoytsma. Could not participate in this race here tonight. Not entirely sure if he can run in FLCC tomorrow night here at Maconi Entertainment. But if Hoytsma can make it into the championship 4, he'll have a darn good shot to get the job done. But right now, Eric Wineland is a driver that we will be keeping tabs on. If he can break his way up to the top 4, that would be music to his ears. Otherwise, it's music to the ears of Hoytsma, who's not even out there on the racetrack.
Absolutely. This pack has just been stuck together like glue, it seems, for a while now. Nothing's really changed. Wineland's been amongst those taking the higher arc, been able to make it work. Root's been able to try to double apex, trying to go show in and show out. And the problem is, quite simply, with the way these lines have kind of worked here, if you want to try and make the move, you have to use the bumper at this point, and I think at this point they don't want to use it. Why would you want to use it for 7th? Do you want to burn up the goodwill that you've built up in the race? No. So they're trying to keep it as clean as they can here, as we've touched upon throughout the night. Let things settle out on true raw pace with 21 laps to go.
Yeah, with such little time left to go here, it's coming down to a matter of these drivers' patience. It's coming down to a matter of these drivers' skills. It has been a long and arduous season up to this point. What started all the way back in February with a couple of breaks in between, it has been a nearly year-long odyssey for these racers. And in just a few moments' time, we will know who's going to make it into the championship 4, who's going to be contending for that 2025 FNL title here in this season, and who's going to come out of it smelling like a bucket of horse manure, missing out on the opportunity, and having to look ahead into 2026. We have still got battles out there on the racetrack between playoff racers and non-playoff racers, though. Here's one of them. It's Joey Beck and Bryson Hicksonball. Hicksonball, already one of those competitors who will be racing for a championship at Phoenix. He wants to get a good finish here tonight. As I've said, haven't seen too much from Hicksonball's playoffs. He wants to enter that Phoenix race with a little bit of momentum on his side. A top 5 may not be like the 7 wins that he's already had this season, but it would be a good result nonetheless.
All this as well. See some good battles. Hicksonball, don't lose it there. Try to get that diamond. Just stepped on him on throttle. This track is extremely rubbered up at this point. You have to wonder how sticky the track may feel a little bit. It's very slick for the cars themselves, though, obviously, here right now with the concrete. It takes a lot of precision to be able to maintain long run speed here, as we've seen, and be able to hold on the grip. Hicksonball, I think, feels like he's got a chance to pass by Beck. The problem is, you just can't get close enough to actually make the lunges on these diamonds yet. Searching for the clean air. Might get it here if he can get it to grip up. It just won't.
Yeah, I think I said this a little bit earlier on in this broadcast, talking about the drivers trying to accelerate out of the restart zones, but coming out of the turns at this point in the race, these drivers having to run around. Contact being made. The 95 got to spin off into the pit entry. He strikes the pit attenuator. He's got to pick up a black flag as a result of all that, but because he kept it down in pit lane, that will keep us green. That was a wild moment coming out of that. I was just going to say that these racers were probably feeling like dogs running on a freshly polished wood floor. Joey Beck hit the wall. Hicksonball makes contact with him, spins him down to the infield, and that was a hellacious impact into those sand barrels.
Don't think I've seen someone hit the pit barrels like that before. That was a little bit sketchy, but quite simply, I think Hicksonball got the better run, corner exit, tried to dive to the inside, misjudged it, hit the bumper of Beck. At this point, it's off sailing for the 95. At this point, Joey Beck is quite literally parking it in the garage area. He is done for the night.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaking way for Joey Beck's race to end. He was putting on a good drive. He had his moments throughout this race, but it made contact. A small little mistake has massive consequences, and unfortunately for him, that's going to take him out of contention. That black flag already probably decides to, you know what? I already have major damage. I got black flag. No point. We've only got 10 nearly laps left to go. It's 11 laps left to go here in this race, and Bryce Reiner continues to lead by 2 seconds over Adam Benefiel. Benefiel, your winner at this racetrack back in the spring. Not sure if he'll be able to do the double, as he has to close up a big gap between now and the end to make it work, but either way, no matter how you slice it, he's going to be racing for a championship in Phoenix in 1 week's time.
Yeah, now focus is quite simple. You just get to the checker flag for everybody else. A little bit of a dive. Now that sense of urgency, you would think late in this race, might pick up where we might see some of the bumpers play out a little bit. Might see people get a little bit brave on some of these moves. Will we see that be the case, though? Wineland is the closest battle of the racetrack. That lead has separated by more than 2 seconds up front.
Yeah, Reiner driving off into the sunset here at Martinsville. He's not involved in that playoff discussion. He nearly gets into the back of the 82 as they head their way down to turn number 1, but he is looking just to go out and do some trophy hunting. He's been able to do that and then some thus far tonight. If he can cap off this race with a victory, it would be a darn good result indeed for Adam Benefiel. He's slotted in P2, already locked into the playoffs. Not too much to raise there. The attention, however, is raised with Wineland. We talked about him a little bit earlier on, and now he needs to finish in 4th if he wanted to get himself into the playoffs and knock Lucas Hoitzma out of it. He's now in P5. Ixenball at that moment with himself in the 95 has brought this back into vogue, but with only 6 laps left to go, Wineland's going to have to hope for some sort of falling anvil to come down on one of the races a little bit farther up the road. Otherwise, looks like Lucas Hoitzma is going to hold on to that final championship 4 spot.
So it's been an interesting night for the point standings, but no major surprises, no major shakeups for everyone who's been above the cut line. That's kind of the circumstances when you have so big of buffers up front, but surprisingly no winners that have locked themselves in. It's going to be an interesting one in Phoenix, to say the very least, if this is how a prelude to how the championship race can go, to say the very least, later on next week.
And of course, next Friday, Halloween night here on Maconi Entertainment, we'll be kicking off FLC Championship Week, where we crown the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series champion, and then 1 day later, we'll be crowning the champion of the Full-Length Cup Challenge. But we're in crunch time in this race, 2 laps left to go. Bryce Reiner on track for a victory with a 2.5 second gap, but the battling very much on here in this fight that we're keeping tabs on currently. It's Reiner in the midst of it. He's given Wineland a bit of room to breathe. There's a white flag going to be in the air for Bryce Reiner. 1 more lap of racing action for him. He's on the outside of the 87 as they head their way off through turns number 1 and 2. The 87 looking to get into the playoffs. The 5 looking again to victory lane, as it has been a fantastic race from that number 5 car. Once again, a driver playing playoff spoilers as Bryce Reiner gonna win this race tonight here at Martinsville. He wins by 2.7 seconds over Adam Benefiel in P2. Joseph McWhorter comes home in 3rd to seal a spot in the championship 4 as well. Bryson Ixenball will come across the line to finish the race in 4th, and in so, he will give that final championship 4 spot to Lucas Hoitzma. Benefiel gonna rough up the 5 a little bit. Think that's all playful. But that right there, I think just about sets your championship 4 as we look into championship week at Phoenix in 1 week's time. But one man's going to celebrate tonight, and that is your race winner, Bryce Reiner, burning it down on the start-finish straightaway. An incredible drive for the driver, the number 5.
Incredible run, and Benefiel recognized he had the speed to win the race tonight. Door opened up for him to make the move, and quite simply, once the 5 machine took over, it was smooth sailing from there. Conti with the team 1-2 in front.
darn good race here at Martinsville too. Those racers, and it was a challenging one for sure. These racers were really going to be tested. They were tested. Their patience was tested. Their skills were tested. Just about every single thing that can annoy a racer can go down here at Martinsville. But Bryce Reiner was able to tackle that challenge, held on to it in spades, and he walks away with the victory as we see him get it stopped, try and break out the camera and celebrate with his crew. We'll take a look at the race results here tonight from Martinsville in the second to last race of the full-length challenge Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series season here in 2025, and it's Bryce Reiner scoring the victory. Adam Benefiel finishes in P2. May not be that sixth win of the season that he may have been looking for here tonight. May not be the Martinsville double, but he locked himself into that championship four, and frankly, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So too did Joseph McWhorter, as we believe he is going to be involved in that championship four discussion. He finishes this race in third. Bryson Hicksonball also locked into that next round of the playoffs. He's going to be racing for a championship in Phoenix in 1 week's time. The dream playoff run for Eric Wineland comes to an end here at Martinsville. So close yet so far away. Finishes in P5 and comes up oh so short to being able to usurp that points tally from Lucas Hoytsma. Raymond Root will finish this race in sixth. Charles Velasquez Jr., what could have been maybe a championship season for him, not going to happen here in 2025. He finishes in seventh. It's not the win that he needed. It's not the win he may have wanted. And Velasquez going to get booted out of the round of 8. But overall, a very convincing season from the 3 wins, too. Absolutely incredible stuff. As we see the rest of the drivers class in this race, Kirk Mills, unfortunately for him, not going to be contending for a championship in Phoenix next time out. But the driver who was one of the first retirees from, well, was overall a very clean night of racing action, Lucas Hoytsma, beating the odds. He ends up walking away with that final championship four spot, as we will get confirmation for you between now and the end of this show. But I think that is just about it for the results, and give these drivers a couple of more moments to get loaded into that infield care center so we can have a chat with them at the end of this race. But JP, that was absolutely awesome from start to finish.
Clean racing all night, no major crashes, no major moments. Joey Beck hit the pit barrier at the very least, but everybody else, quite simply, just was able to have a near-perfect race at Martinsville. Nicely done by the field as things look secure amongst your championship four.
Yeah, so we will give you a preview of that championship for a little bit later on. For now, though, let's move off into the interviews because we have got a very excited race winner, some other drivers looking to have a chat with us here tonight. We'll get things all up and rolling by having a chat with Bryce Reiner, who now joins us here in the broadcast booth. Bryce, welcome in. Congratulations on the win here at Martinsville. How was it out there here tonight?
Oh my God, thank you guys. It was a thriller and it was so much fun. What a great race tonight. I know we only had a few cautions, but honestly the racing felt pretty quick and just clean throughout everybody. Just hats off to everybody, and we had a really, really fast car, and I couldn't do it without all of my teammates behind the scenes.
Yeah, I gotta say, that 5 car from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered looked to be quick. I want to ask you about how it was settling into a groove here at Martinsville, because even with the chaos that can break out, this is that sort of racetrack where if you can feel like you're in the cruising zone, you can just whittle those laps away and make it seem like a 250 lap long race is a 25 lap long race.
Yeah, that's the main goal here, honestly. Martinsville is such a tedious track with how short the straightaways are and how tedious the braking has to be for you not to spin it or wreck it. And then also, whether you're in a line with a bunch of people or not, I mean, you got to adjust to everybody else's braking point. So in those first 2 stages, I felt like I was really, really, I wouldn't say better than everybody like in front of me, but like it was so difficult to pass. So I was just kind of buying my time up until our long green flag run, which I'm so thankful that we kind of flipped that stage there at the end to give us that track position and just to kind of cruise, get in a groove, and just kind of not really look at lap times, not look at lap numbers, just kind of cruise, and sooner or later you're going to look up and you're going to have 30 laps left. That's what we did. I was really kind of just, following Adam for some time, but there was a point to where I felt like I was rolling the center really, really good compared to him, and I wanted to get by, but I also didn't know what situation he or Charles or anybody was in the point, so I didn't really want to screw them up. But once I got to the lead, I really didn't look back and just kind of kept increasing that gap.
Yeah, grabbed that race lead and never looked back, walking away from Martinsville with I know they give a grandfather clock for the Cup Series. Do they do that for
Yeah.
the lower series? I guess walking away with a small little clock on top of your headstand here tonight. But Bryce, overall, very good race here at Martinsville. Awesome job on the win. And before we let you go and celebrate, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs.
Yeah, thanks. Either way, with a virtual Martinsville, I know I've won a couple here, not in league settings, but just overall in open sets. And I love this track and combo. Whenever we go here with this car, I'm super excited. I feel like I have a grip on this car and track. So, yeah, super thankful for my sponsors and all my teammates over at Team Conti Sim Performance. Nick Ottinger made a heck of a setup this weekend. He does tremendous work behind the scenes for the B car, and it shows tonight. We all had fast cars tonight, depending on which sets we all ran, but they do a tremendous job over there at Team Conti. Just want to shout out my father. He was watching here today. He loves what I do on here. Thanks to Digital Sim Sports, Martin PC, Team Conti again, Adam for a good race. Me and him raced pretty cleanly up there in the front. And gotta give a shout out to Hunter Terrell. Me and him were having a great battle in stage 1 and 2. Unfortunate circumstances landed his way. Not sure exactly what happened, but overall, me and him had a heck of a battle. So props to him. And we're going to go one more time at Phoenix, and hopefully we can grab another win.
Yeah, so we'll see you out there trophy hunting at Phoenix next time out, Bryce, but awesome to have you here in the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the win here at Martinsville, and looking forward to seeing you out there at Phoenix next time out.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You guys have a good night.
Yep, you as well. That right there was our winner tonight of Bryce Reiner joining us here in the broadcast booth. And JP, it looks like we also have our P2 finisher of Adam Benefield joining us here in the booth. So I'll let you drag him in to have a little chat.
Yes, indeed. Adam Benefield able to get the second place spot tonight after leading 44 laps. Adam, talk us through what the car was feeling like over the course of the run after your teammate was able to get on by.
Oh, I mean, it felt good. Car was good the whole night. I think it was pretty obvious that we were better, and I was just trying to find a clean way, the cleanest way possible to get past Joseph. And it just it's nighttime racing here on iRacing. It's gripped up, and you can go in there and be a lane and a half off the bottom in the center, but you get it pointed, matted. There's no downfall to it. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing I can complain about with that car. That was the best Xfinity car I've ever drove at Martinsville. I think the biggest difference is tonight was my race that I've ran this week in this car, and Bryce has been running it all week, so he's had a lot more seat time than me. But yeah, I have no complaints, man. Like Bryce just straight up, he outdrove me. We were on the same exact thing, and he straight up waxed me. So, but I think I think we made it crystal clear who had the best car tonight.
Yes, indeed you did. And quite simply here as well, Unofficially a part of the championship four, there is still questions on who's actually on the cut line. It is, again, important to mention that Race Control just mentioned that it's still being under review for the fourth spot right now. Yours wasn't up for grabs per se because you locked it in the first stage. So how are you feeling about being able to race for a championship now in this car next Friday?
Yeah, I really don't care who's the fourth. Whoever makes it, congratulations to them. I hope you enjoy finishing second, third, or fourth. It really don't bother me who's in it. I think my biggest threat right now is my other teammate, which is also the guy that I hate, Bryson Hicksonball. So if push comes to shove, he knows what I'll do, and we know how we race one another when it comes down to it. It's happened before in past history for the Cup side of things at Phoenix. It's happened quite a few times. Gloves come off between me and him, and we really start leaning on one another. But I plan on kicking everybody's butt. I don't really give a crap. I'm him. I'm him. Justin Prince, I'm him. So you better buy your ticket and be in the front row.
Well, some bold words. You still have a race tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, yeah. No,
Series.
look, man, if I win that daggone race tomorrow night, I'm going to go buy a damn lottery ticket, and I'm going to pay everybody when I win it. Like, we got a tough one tomorrow night. I think we got a really good car. We was able to win OB last night. I like this place. I won the spring race here, but it wasn't. I crossed the finish line first. Delaney had it, in my opinion. He just had a Delaney moment going into turn 3 on a green, white checkered. So I think that we'll be in the hunt. I think we'll be good. We just got to capitalize on opportunities, and I think we'll definitely put up a hell of a fight.
Any show would you like to give here tonight?
Obviously, my two biggest fans in the YouTube chat, Dirt himself and Cody Bird. And I see my new friend Andrew Dyson, or new fan Andrew Dyson. Appreciate those guys. They're always in here pumping me up, gives me something to read, and makes me feel like I'm 10 foot tall under caution laps. So appreciate those guys. Appreciate y'all for broadcasting, Bobby and Bryson and Jedi, for everything they do for this league. It's been an awesome freaking year. No matter how next week goes, like, man, I've had more fun sim racing this year than I've had in quite some time. And I'm just so freaking excited that this league is back, and it's going to get bigger and better for next year. But yeah, let's go win a daggum championship.
Congratulations on the top 3 here tonight.
Thanks.
Adam Benefiel, he put down the gauntlet, Ron. There's no doubt about it.
See, I feel bad making a joke like this, but I would never be able to say something like that, even in a joking context, because that would usually be when the commentator jinx falling anvil strikes again. But let's have a chat with our P3 finisher at the end of this race, Joseph McWhorter, who makes it in to the playoffs, makes it in to the championship. For Joseph, welcome in. Well done on the P3 here at Martinsville. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had Allar Speedco and my crew chief Jonathan Smith put together a hell of a race car tonight. That was a really fun race. That was it was slick. It was really good grip at the beginning of the race, and then towards the end of the race, as everything kind of built up with the rubber, it was getting real slick. And yeah, it was a good time. I had a lot of fun. It was good leading laps, a lot of speed. We've had a lot of speed the last couple of weeks. We ain't had the result, but we definitely had the result tonight. So not the win I was hoping we would have, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it may not be the win, but it was still a darn good night, maximizing on the points, getting to third at the very end, and punching your ticket into the championship four. So I want to ask you about the season that you have had up to this point, even discounting what may or may not happen at Phoenix in 1 week's time. Just talk us through the season that you've had. Of course, had that win at Pocono a little bit earlier on this year, back in the summer, but it's been a very good, very, very good season for you here in 2025.
Yeah, it's been a great season, and honestly, I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations coming into it. All I wanted to be was I wanted to make the playoffs. Um, that was really my biggest thing. I wanted to make Johnny bringing me into Outlier and giving me this opportunity. I really just wanted to make him proud, get it into the playoffs. It's been so long since I've really had the chance of getting to do open setup leagues. The last one that I got to do was MSRA with Ralph and a bunch of the others like Boyd Hogan and a bunch of others there, and we came up just one spot short in that league here at Martinsville. So it feels good to not have that be the case tonight, and we get to go race for a championship next weekend. It's just been a really good season. This is a bunch of really amazing drivers, and we've put on some really amazing races. We've been really fast. We've been really close to a lot of wins this season, but one small thing or a late race yellow, it just seems like it's always been just one thing, kind of keeping us away from a win. But I'm hoping next week that's not the case, and next week we're the ones bringing home a trophy.
Yeah, and speaking of Phoenix next time out, I do want to ask you what your thoughts are heading off into that round of the championship. Of course, the championship race got a lot of stuff riding on that race in 1 week's time.
Yeah, you guys weren't broadcasting yet whenever we were there in the springtime, and we had such a really good race car. We were dominant that whole first stage, and I sped on pit road, drove all the way from the back of the field, which we had a full field, I think, that night, and drove all the way back up to second in stage 2, and then ran second the whole rest of the race between me and Hicksonball. So the biggest thing is I've got my crew chief back. That's the biggest thing. Jonathan Smith, who really put together, we made some pretty good changes tonight on this car because we were a little tight. It's really good to have him back. He's been so busy with the real life Xfinity Series and super late models and late models this year. So having him back for last week, this week, and next week, I think that's going to be the real big thing because John, me and him's been doing this for a lot of years together. He's basically my brother. So being able to perform the way that we did tonight together and put ourselves into that situation for next weekend, I'm really excited.
Yeah, and awesome to see the season that you've put together up to this point, Joseph, and looking forward to seeing what may bring at Phoenix next time out. But after this P3, we'll give the floor to you to give any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and get some practice in for that next round.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to thank Red Camel Racing. You get to see them across the hood of my race car each and every week. They're an amazing partner of mine. Been with me through several championships now and real life racing at Daytona. So go check them out at redcamelracing.com for any of your fire suit, shoes, helmets, anything you need for a race weekend. They've got it. Outlier Speed Co., Johnny and everybody at Outlier Speed Co., those guys, I really appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity. Amazing setups each and every week. Go check them out at outlierspeedco.com. Who else I need to thank? Jonathan Smith, my crew chief. It's really good to have him back. Rest of my teammates on Driven Motorsports, Mark Whitley, Jonathan Smith, Danny Lawson, everybody over there that's been cheering me on. My girlfriend's mom for watching. We're going to go race for a championship next week. You guys for putting on the broadcast and all the admins, all the drivers for really hard work all season long and ready to go kick this off.
Yeah, and thank you as well for joining us here in the broadcast booth, Joseph. Well done on the P3, and looking forward to seeing you out there trying to contend for a championship next time at Phoenix.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate it. Hopefully we put on a good show for you guys next week.
I'm sure you probably will. That right there was our P3 finisher of Joseph McWhorter joining us in the booth, and now we can officially run through our 2025 Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series Championship 4. Bryson Hixenball and Adam Benefield got the deal done. They sealed it off before we even got to the end of stage 2. They're going to be contending for a championship. Joseph McCorder, the man that we just had a chat with, he's going to be contending for a championship. And then for that final spot, it came down to nothing. Literally zero. It was a tie between Lucas Hoytsma and Eric Wineland at the end of the round of 8. Came down to a matter of who got the better finish in the round. Hoytsma was able to get that advantage with a P2 at Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago. Lucas Hoytsma will be the final of the 4 racers contending for the 2025 Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series Championship. And of course, you will be able to catch that season finale here on Maconi Entertainment at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow we've got the FLCC. I'll ask you about that in a couple of moments, JP, but that's the action here tonight. And tomorrow, JP, we've got the exact same song with a different dance with those Cup racers trying to contend for those spots.
Yes, indeed, and that's going to be a wild night, to say the very least, to see who survives at Martinsville. Those drivers still in the midst of trying to set things up with the qualifying throughout the next day and a half or so. But it's going to be the question, who gets the edge to move on in Cup, to go off to Phoenix after all? There's only one driver locked in so far, and some of the drivers involved in tonight's battles need some miracles. At the paperclip tomorrow, Benefield's a -49 in Cup.
Yeah, so that's going to be some must-watch entertainment here on Maconi Entertainment in just about 24 hours' time. And you can scan that QR code to learn more about professional-grade broadcast, live race control, and event organization services. Maconi Entertainment here to bring your racing action to life. Got a whole lot of action to look forward to, though, in the not-too-far-off future here on Maconi Entertainment. Of course, tomorrow's penultimate round of the full-length Cup Challenge here at Martinsville. Door-to-door sim racing league going to be running here as well. The FF1600 Monday Strength of Field broadcast going to be heading off to Rudskogen. Fast Fridays for this month actually going to be held on a Thursday. That'll be at Iowa Speedway with these Xfinity cars. And then next Friday, we, of course, have the season finale from this series, and also our coverage of top split action from the iRacing Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch. That'll be some absolutely awesome action to look forward to over the next week here on Maconi Entertainment. Gives you a darn good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here, for the penultimate race of the Friday Night Lights Xfinity Series here at Martinsville, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Mons, Justin Prince joining me in the broadcast booth, and Howie Burrows doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Maconi Entertainment tonight, and we hope to see you all for Championship